Hello. So last week I talked about my blog that I started called Exercise Your Breath, and I wanted to dip into that a little bit more and share with you one of the breathwork or pranayama practices that really set things in motion in terms of how I was feeling, how I was thinking, how I was connecting my body and my mind, and ultimately how I was finding my soul again. It is called the Breath of Fire, and there's lots of other words or lots of other names for it, but that's the one that I remember the most. And it is a practice where you have kind of like a panting breath, and you use your diaphragm. See if I can show you. Use the lower part of your or your abdominal muscles, and really forcefully exhale the breath, and then it just naturally inhales. But you do it really quickly in rapid succession. And when I first started researching this breath, I had this idea that I could get fit and get in shape by practicing breathing exercises solely. And for me, it's a challenge after becoming a mother and changing my lifestyle and such. And I mean, before I had kids, I didn't really exercise. And so after having kids, I haven't really exercised either. But my body shape has changed. And, I was really self-conscious about that for a while. And so I had this idea that I could like slim down my tummy and get those abdominal muscles back in shape solely by exercising my breath. And that is where the idea of exercise your breath really like formulated for me. And so I spent a lot of time every day committed to this new practice of practicing this breath of fire. And I would spend 10-20 minutes at a time sitting in a posture, for lack of a better word, and breathing. Often I'd drop the kids off at school in the morning, and then I would sit in the parking lot and put my timer on my phone and then do these breathing exercises for this duration of time. And I went into it with the idea of getting into shape and seeing how that would transform my outer appearance. But the completely unexpected appearance and I was sort of like awakening that I was having was that this breath work was really contributing to me getting connected with my soul, with my inner being, with my higher self, whatever terminology you feel comfortable with. That is what the breath work was bringing to me. So I'm going to take a minute to demonstrate the breath of fire for you, so that you can practice it too if it's something that excites you. So to start it out, I'm going to put my hand on my abdomen. You can't quite see it, but just below my rib cage. And then it's easier usually to start the breath of fire with your mouth open, and you're going to pant like a dog. So I'll do a little demonstration. I'm going to take a deep breath first and then start. So as you kind of get that rhythm and feel for it, then you can close your mouth and start doing it through your nose. And the longer that you do this breath, the more you'll sort of feel that rush of oxygen, and you may get a little lightheaded, and you'll feel all sorts of sensations in your body. I find that I get kind of cool, so it's nice to have a bit of a blanket around me when I do it. And then, it's a very energizing breath. Also, I think I may have talked about this in the post that I had about drinking coffee, and it's sort of an alternative to having that caffeine in the morning, because it does energize you in a way that is really powerful and unexpected. It gets that energy really moving in your body. So So I'd like to do that for a long time if I could. I mean, you want to start slowly, do it for a minute, do it for a couple minutes, and build your way up to longer and longer durations. I'll post a link in the description to the Exercise Your Breath blog post that I think it's in. And yeah, so I would be doing this exercise sort of a couple times a day, and then I'd also be journaling. And what I didn't really realize, and what the connection that I didn't make at the time, was that all of these different breathwork exercises that I was doing were bringing out different aspects of me that I had forgotten about or put down and trapped in my body, that body-mind connection. And so by doing the breath work, I was accessing these memories, and then I was able to journal about them and bring them to the surface and revisit them. And so I was able to take a lot of that information and transform it and heal it and put it into Celebrate Your Grief. When I was researching these different breathwork techniques and pranayama exercises, I took a really deep dive into this book, which is Letters from the Yoga Masters by Marianne McConnell and Muggs, my favorite or first yoga teacher. And she writes in depth about her experience being a student of yoga. And there's lots of pranayama, lots of asanas and other practices in here, and the history really that goes into a lot of the practices that she has and shares with people. So if you're at all interested in learning more about yoga from that perspective, this is a wonderful, wonderful book that I would love to share with you. So from the pranayama, from the breath work that I was doing, I was able to tap into parts of myself that had been suppressed, that had been sort of forgotten about, and probably I was living from, but not really realizing in that self-conscious way. And so by doing that and journaling about it, it all was slowly starting to rise. And it was an unexpected gift that somehow on some level my inner being, my higher self, had led me to, because I started doing these exercises in order to try and slim my tummy down. So I just am so fascinated by how we come across these things on our path, and they completely change the direction and the course that we're going, but they align us more and more with who we are internally in our inner being. And it's just that trust that we have to have in the universe, that the path that we're on is ultimately the path that we're meant to be on. So that is the teaching and the practice that I'd like to share with you, that I'm sharing with you today. And for next week, I'm not too sure what road we're gonna take, but I look forward to wherever we go. And I am grateful that you're here with me on this journey. I hope that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, like this video if you found it informative and helpful or interesting, and we'll do it again soon. Thank you so much for being with me. Take care.